Hey everybody, The Real Behemoth here, back again with another video for Heroes of History. Today we're going to be jumping into our next episode of the new player guide. We're going to be talking about the blue Tesla level. So in my personal opinion, this is going to be the hardest color type. Obviously, as I have done 15 on all the rest, most of them 3-star, aside from red. I can't even beat blue 14, or at least I haven't yet. Now, blues are significantly harder, and it's almost because you have to use your tanks right now. They don't really have any solid damage dealers. So let's jump into the blue heroes and see what we are working with. We have every blue hero currently in the game. Now, part of the difficulty is almost all the 2-stars are useless. The only one that would be useful for earlier Tesla levels would be Te Wero. But the rest, I would not recommend touching at all. They're going to remain level 1 until I have nowhere to spend my food, and I need to just level them up to level them up. Te Wero is somewhat useful with his slight shield and single target damage. But aside from that, again, not much use. Ulysses S. Grant, he's going to be doing a decent bit of single target damage for that earlier type of gameplay. But there are a couple of better heroes that I would recommend using. So jumping into the other 3-stars we've got William Tell. William Tell is going to be your early and mid carry, even late carry, one of your late carries for blue Tesla, just because we don't really have many damage dealer options. So definitely recommend that you max him out, level him up. I need to finish his ability because at max, he gets a little bit more of a buff on his attack speed. And so that attack speed buff is going to be very helpful. It's going to be half of his charge, or charge time. So definitely recommend that you level him. He's going to be doing most of your damage, or one of the most of your damage. Pythagoras is going to be your other main damage dealer, for 3-stars at least. His triangle, and his ability specifically has been nerfed a little bit. He does 6 times less burn damage since the last update. So with the last patch, they nerfed his burn damage. Apparently it was a little too high, and they nerfed it by 6x. So I had him maxed. I've had him max level for a while as I use him in one of my treasure hunt teams and blue Tesla. So his triangle is going to be doing a lot of damage to that boss. There was also a previous issue, I want to say it was on the beta server with Leif. Leif was helping your team just absolutely wipe the boss with his defense reduction and his taunt, essentially. I don't remember if the boss was attacking itself, but it was super buggy, so they fixed that. I have not used him yet. As you can see, he's level 1, ability level 1, but I've heard a lot of great things about him. I just haven't attempted him in Tesla yet. So I don't know if his defense reduction works anymore. I would imagine it does not. So I don't know how much use he's going to be for you in Tesla, but if you've tried him out and tested him, let me know how he does in the comments down below. Dart. Now, here's my issue. I know I should be leveling him for blue Tesla. He's going to be your main 4-star plus single target damage dealer for these types of levels for heroes, for bosses, etc. I probably should be leveling him. I guarantee that he does a decent amount of damage toward the boss. However, my issue with him is I like to prioritize heroes that are multifaceted and multi-use. And I just don't see that out of him. I'm not going to use him in treasure hunt teams. I'm not going to use him in campaign. I'm not going to use him in arena. So it's really difficult for me to convince myself to level him up for just blue Tesla. But with blue Tesla being the only one I really haven't completed yet, it's definitely something I've been considering as of late. So if for those of you who have him, let me know how his damage does in comparison to like a Max, Pythagoras, or William Tell. I'd be very curious to see that. Plato, he's going to be your Karl Marx for the blues. He's not going to be useful for this Tesla boss unless you were to have his poison along with him. His poison could be okay, but it's not going to do a lot of damage. So I wouldn't waste your slot on him personally. And Bonnie, ability level 1, but I've got her level 60 right now. I equipped a random relic. Yeah, I equipped a torch. That's not really going to do much, but and Bonnie, I'm going to be very... I think that she's going to be kind of similar to Bessie in Purple Tesla, where I expect a lot, but she's not going to deliver the numbers that I'm looking for. But I'll definitely be testing her out soon, and really trying to see what work she can do. I know that she's going to be helpful versus the minions, but I'm really looking for that boss damage. Margaret. So unless you have Ramses, Margaret is a must-have for Blue Tesla. She's going to be your buffer. She's increasing attack speed, she's increasing attack, and then later on she increases critical damage as well. So definitely make sure that you're leveling her up. She is multifaceted, so you can use her in campaign. If you need a buffer, you can use her in treasure hunt. I use her in one of my treasure hunt teams, so I have her somewhat leveled. Now I did it recently ascend her, so I'm going to be working on getting her to level 80 soon, which would probably help with this blue boss. I just, in one of my last pull videos, as you guys saw, I just pulled Ramses, so he may have some pretty solid use, or may even replace my Margaret. I'm still debating on whether I want to add them together as a duo, or just run one over the other. But Ramses is going to be great if you're needing a buffer and your Margaret isn't leveled up compared to your Ramses. If you got Ramses early in your game, then he's going to be leveled up. He's going to be prioritized, of course, and so he can be very, very solid and useful in the Tesla boss. Einstein, I haven't put too much love into him yet. I haven't seen just a lot of greatness from him. He has potential, but I personally haven't seen his attack speed work, his attack speed debuff. So, I mean, if you look at his skill, it just says summon. It doesn't even say debuff. So if it's going to cripple their attack speed by 99%, and it should say debuff along with it. That doesn't make much sense to me. So that makes sense if that's what they intended, but it doesn't make sense, according to the description. I don't think he's going to do too much damage, but because of his level cap being significantly higher than the 4 stars and the 3 stars, he may be able to put in some work against this boss. So I'll definitely make sure I test that later on, and once I get him leveled, I'll make a video on it. In the meantime, we've got Napoleon. Napoleon is actually going to be helpful because of his buffs to your team. So his evasion buff, you can actually block a Tesla ult with his evasion buff, especially if you're pairing him with, the Abacus evasion relic and things like that. He's actually going to be doing a decent amount of damage to the minions and be able to wipe them out very quickly. But against the boss himself, not too much. It's really going to be more of his basic attack, things like that, right? So he's still going to be doing some more than the 2 stars, maybe even the lesser off 3 stars compared to some of the other 3 stars in color types. But for blues, we have very limited hero options. William Wallace, similar thing. He's just really going to tank. He's not going to do a ton of damage. He may help clear a little bit of the minion waves with his stomp, but overall, not going to do too much. His defense buff is actually helpful, but again, limited heroes. So you gotta use what you can work with. Because I have them, and I don't have somebody like Dart leveled up, I'm having to use both of these guys right now in order to even push. So that makes sense why I'm not able to even beat 14, but let's go into it and see if we can beat it on the run this time. So again, not swapping relics. If I want to do a test the run later, I'll swap relics and really give it a shot. But for the video's sake, I just want to jump into it, and I won't take time swapping relics. So I'm thinking that we have a good chance of beating this. This is the team that I was using before. So obviously this was before this season, before Anne Bonny was released. I used this team before I even got Einstein, before I even got Ramses, before you know, probably even before Leif. So it's been a while, you know, but I haven't leveled any of these heroes up too much. So as you can see my setup here, I've got William Tell, Napoleon, and William Wallace in the back. William Wallace and Napoleon are going to be jumping up to the front. Margaret is going to be sitting on back. Pythagoras is going to sit on back, and William Tell is as well. So let's jump into it. Let's try and find the skill order, and let's play accordingly. So we have Napoleon's evasion coming off the bat. We've got Margaret's buff. We have the triangle and William Wallace's stomp that covers our Pythagoras there. It looks like he targeted our William Tell first. So he went back line and then he jumped over to front line. Let's see what we can do. So it looks like we may even lose William Tell to the flipping mobs. Nope, not quite. Awesome. It's Margaret. And then let's have everybody pop off. We may actually beat this, but William Tell is absolutely going to die right here. Yep. So William Tell was farthest in the back, so may be smart to swap him with Margaret. Once Margaret gets up to level 80, it jumped back up on the front. So it looks like the skill order is similar to one of the others, where it goes back, front, back, front, back, front. So you can use a tank in the front line and mitigate some of that damage. Hopefully Pythagoras can take him out here before he dies. So we went for Margaret. So we did and are able to beat level 14. Definitely not going to be able to beat level 15 with this same setup, due to both them dying very quickly and, you know, the level 15 boss doing more damage. But that gives you guys a little bit of an idea of how I like to run it, and what heroes I like to use. So definitely going to be testing Einstein, Ramses, and Anne Bonny. And let me know again in the comments down below how Leif does. I'd be very curious to see if he has any use for the Tesla boss. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and it helped at least one of you guys. I will catch you in the next video. Please leave a like and subscribe.